The only way I know to jump into this last block is to remind you of the time, I think the only time that you and I have seen Sun together. Sun, who draws out notes for as long as possible, had Dead in the Dirt open for them. The wife of one of the members of Dead in the Dirt was our wedding photographer, and she was taking us in her car to get some photos like right after the ceremony, and she had on Behemoth in the car, and I just thought she was like a really cool and talented tattooed girl, and I was like, holy shit, she has amazing taste in music too. And I don't remember how it wound up coming up, but she was like, oh yeah, Blake is in this band, Dead in the Dirt. And this had been like years since we had been to that Sun show. And I was like, oh, they're the band that played the like 15-second songs. They were so sick. But they had that cool album cover with like The Void on it. And they were my entry point into grind, into this like really shorter, blastier stuff. So yeah, let's talk about this last section.
If you missed Daughter to get into grind, like I feel like a lot of us were just like, oh, we'll go with there. Like, yeah. So like this last four are to me are good examples of, again, the branches that kind of go out from the sound that God City is creating, and still show the HM-2 drive behind how production can sound, but are kind of taking them in their own direction. So yeah, Dead in the Dirt, like the reason I picked up Pitch Black Tomb, although this is not a describer limited to this song on this record, but like they stop on a dime at like 30 seconds in, just stop, start. And like, again, such an awesome example of like guitar tone is really hard to manage in situations like that. And like, that's part of what must have felt like magic for HM2 stuff. Just like, I don't know where this came from, but the articulation works, and you can just stop and move in a different direction, and then, basically 45 seconds later be done and move on to the next thing.
We've said what we need to say.
The older I get, the more I just want to be in a band that only plays minute-long songs, so our set can be done in 15 minutes and I can go home and sleep. So after that is a band that's totally different from Dead in the Dirt, or at least to a metalhead. So Rotten Sound has a lot more death influence than grind, but still is kind of in between those two worlds. Super dirty sounding in terms of tone, but we're like, Rotten Sound is like a proud HM2 using band. Like they've got an HM2 pedal t-shirt with Rotten Sound on it. They've got one that says Heavy Metal Chainsaw or something like that on it with Rotten Sound on it. So like they love it. Like they embrace the culture of the HM2. And it just, honestly, an awesome band, already known in their part of the world. I forget the specific country, but like they're known for just being one of the best live acts where they come from anyway. So Rotten Sound's another direction you can go in totally. And then I wanted to bring in Enabler. All Hail the Void is awesome.
Also had Andy Hurley in it.
Did not know that.
Yeah, so that was the first time that I was like,
okay,
oh shit, the Fall Out Boy guy is tight.
He's prolific.
He's a super good drummer. Good God.
So
he's also in the Damn Things, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So Enabler here, now this is great. Enabler's using an HM2 the way that Mayhem did. In the way that some of the more traditional ones are, where they're using it in combination with a modded DS1, like Entombed would do during Left Hand Path as well. And so like they're combining it dynamically, and it works here. Like it sets them apart in this song and on this record in general, being more of like the almost post-hardcore-ish, I think. But it sets them apart from anyone else who would be their contemporaries in that subgenre. But also they don't sound like any of the other like death type or inspired bands that we had talked about before. So again, just like a good, nice, long, drawn out hardcore song to really pull out on this. And then the final one, which I love to end on this one really specifically from the band End, which is probably one of our shared favorite heavy bands right now that's putting out new music.
That the new record came out this year, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's been insufferably long here. Yeah, I love Will Putney as a producer,
Yeah.
and didn't learn until this record came out that he was in this band, or is in this band. And I thought they were cool until I learned that fact, and then I was like, all right, I'm all in. But this record absolutely destroys. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, because he's in Fit for an Autopsy, and the story was like he started writing music that he immediately felt like it's not quite for the band that I'm in right now, and started going this angle. But Every Empty Vein is the song that this playlist ends on, and I love it because up until this point, I've tried to choose songs that show you the articulation of the HM2, and as you hinted at earlier, Trap Them would often bookend their songs with like wild feedback, or just like kind of letting it out of control and then ramping it in, doing the song and then going back out. This song is like the guitar is ready to bust out of itself the entire time. It barely hangs on, and to me it reminds me of like, I guess the last time we saw Converge. There was a moment in the middle of the set where they got to Dark Horse and the guitar started sounding like, it's like he's going to lose control of the guitar tone. Like the feedback was starting to come up to the same level as the guitar playing itself. And it felt like its own presence. Like it felt like the tone needed to be like dealt with. And this song to me is a great example of like how the HM2 actually plays when you're just playing it regularly. It's insufferable sounding, because actually like what you're hearing on a produced sound is like really articulate noise gating and like trying to pack in the sound really specifically.
It's like somebody put a shrapnel bomb in a box.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't work without the cage around it.
Yeah. But like you just have your guitar playing nothing and you turn on the HM2, it's like, yeah, and just it doesn't end until you start playing and it has input. And like this is such a great song.
It's like riding a dragon almost in that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
It's going to absolutely lay waste to everything in its path until you're like, all right, let's do this shit.
Exactly. So that's why I wanted to end on that one, because like it really shows that there's this whole other kind of end of the spectrum, and possibly even parts of the pedal yet to be discovered and used on purpose, that are showing up in this end record, which quite frankly is like this band is at the forefront of hardcore, along with, in my opinion, Code Orange, a number of other bands like that who are finding the edges of the genre and trying to bring kids along with them and just find the right places to push. And so this one is awesome. And like, I just love, again, the constant balance of like, the HM2 only works if you dial it all the way to 10. Like, it's a cheap pedal used in a really specific way. It's really expensive now because you can't find too many of them because they were cheap and they stopped making them. Like, it's both ends of the spectrum kind of at the same time. And it was just, talking about like how to ride a dragon, like figuring out how to deal with it until people started being able to consistently reproduce that sound. And then people just wanted to keep using it. Like, this pedal has driven enough. I could live on a desert island made with only records made with an HM2 driven guitar pedal. It's wild how much it blossomed out.
You're not even remotely kidding. That's the best part.
Not even a little. But like, it's such a great example of just like the art in heaviness, the things that I think that we appreciate coming out of just pure like utility from kids in the middle of nowhere who knew nothing. And like, to me, that's why I've really enjoyed our kind of like macro and micro journeys on these playlists. Cause like, it's not just about being nerdy or oddly specific to me. Like, there's so much beauty in like somewhere in the world, some teenager turned this pedal all the way up to 10 and had the first thought of like, I think I'm going to leave it this way on purpose. And then like produce this musical progeny, basically, of all this incredible music that would come to be actually inspired by the guitar tone that you could create. Like, to me, that's magic. Like, that's the stuff I show up for every day. So I'm glad I finally got to do this playlist. Thanks for doing it with me.
I'm very glad too. And if we get one tweet or Instagram DM that somebody was like, I wasn't really into heavy music before this, but this is some of the tightest and most unusual stuff I've ever heard. Or just like one song on this changed my day, and I think I might like heavy music now. I think both of us could die happy.
Yeah, for sure. And I might.